I've made a lot of videos about the United States. It's not that I think it's an interesting country, or that there are important stories from it that need to be told. No, neither of those are true. In truth, it's because most of my viewers are American, and that's the only reason. In this video, we look at 10 maps that may well change how you see the country. Or maybe it won't. I don't care either way. The first thing you need to understand is the size of this country. It's actually our world's 4th largest by land area, ranking just below China. If that's hard to visualize, you're in luck. This map shows which country each state is the size of. Colorado is the size of New Zealand, Louisiana is the size of Greece, and Alaska the size of Libya. What surprised me is Idaho being the size of Romania, which by European standards is quite a big country. Bigfoot, perhaps the most American thing of all. Many people believe Bigfoot are real, but where would be the best place to meet one? This map shows the locations of reported Bigfoot sightings. It clearly shows Bigfoot sightings are not evenly distributed. Instead, they are highly concentrated to specific areas that tends to be wooded and low in population. It just goes to prove what we already knew. Bigfoot is more of a small town guy. Thomas Jefferson once wrote that whoever held control of the city of New Orleans would control the destiny of North America, and this next map will explain why. What it shows is every major river in the continental US. In pink is the Mississippi River Basin, which by far dwarfs any other. At the time, travel by land was incredibly dangerous, so boats were usually the preferred method. And so the Mississippi was like a natural highway network, stretching far and wide across the continent. It made almost everything easier, from exploration to trade, to mobilization during the Civil War. That's why Jefferson made the Louisiana Purchase. This map shows the largest immigrant populations per state. As you can see, Mexicans are dominating, with Canadians in a far-off second. But this was not always the case. If we look at the same map from 1910, it's totally different. Back then, Germany was number 1, with Italy and the UK also having large numbers. At the time, dozens of newspapers were published in Italian and German, as many still barely spoke English. North and South Dakota and Minnesota attracted countless Scandinavians, which explains the accent of that region. Around this time, America's population increased rapidly, and within a generation its ethnic landscape had been transformed. Every decade since 1790, the US government has recorded a census of the population. As part of it, the population center was calculated by looking at the mean. This map shows the progression of our population center. In 1790 it was in eastern Maryland, as almost everyone lived along the coast. But after just 10 years, that center had moved 52 miles. As settlers moved ever westward, so did the population center, and it became something of a landmark. Since the 1980s it has been trending south, with many people moving to the Sunbelt, and today the center is in southern Missouri. This map shows the biggest employer in each state, and at this point the whole country should just be called Walmart. 22 states have Walmart as the biggest employer, with 1.5 million employees nationwide. Most other states are either universities or healthcare providers, and only 5 are other private companies. At its peak, the Confederacy only had 11 states, and many are now worried Walmart will secede. This map pairs each state to a comparable economy, so the economy of California is bigger than that of the UK, and the economy of Texas is bigger than Canada's. Some are more impressive than others. For Virginia to have an economy bigger than Argentina says a lot, but for West Virginia to have one smaller than Guatemala isn't great. Still, looking at this map shows how big the US economy truly is. In 2018, the GDP of the entire world was 80 trillion. of which the US was 19. This map shows the most successful brand from each state, and to be honest, I've never heard of some of them. I've never heard of Taco John's, or Garmin, or Maytag, and I'm pretty sure LL Bean doesn't really exist. But some are not surprising at all, like California, or Washington, or Florida. It's a dumb map. This map from 1650 shows America as it was then understood by Europeans. Much of the East is uncharted, and California depicted as an island. At the time, it was widely believed to be an island, which according to rumour was a tropical paradise. Some even said the Fountain of Youth could be found there, giving its native tribes access to immortality. Many would travel there to look for such a fountain. Well into the 18th century, maps would commonly depict the island of California, so for hundreds of years a giant non-existent island was believed in. This is the dang map. It shows the areas you are most and least likely to hear the word dang, with those in red being especially dang heavy. It's not a very important map, there is nothing we can learn from it, but for some reason I can't resist including it. Its creator is also behind many other maps of the same kind, showing that specific regions tend to have specific curse words. This one, for example, shows usage of gosh, a word I've never used until literally right now. And this one shows hell, which seems especially popular in the deep south. So some of these are surprisingly interesting. There are many other maps I could have included, like this one of native reservations, or drug overdoses, or this map of where place names come from. But the dang map upstages them all. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it's that. So that brings us to the end of this video. If you wish to support my channel, consider leaving a like, comment, or even sharing to social media. All those things help a lot.